Welcome to the office on Lagos Talks 91.3. My name is Michelle Ago. It's 36 minutes now past the hour of 4. You're on to 91.3 Lagos Talks, the home of conversations. The conversation never stops. And right about now, we will be speaking with a special guest on today's episode of The Office. As you know, The Office is brought to you by a partnership between the Chartered Institute of Personal Management of Nigeria and Lagos Talks 91.3. Today, we'll be talking about employee engagement and experience. But first of all, let's talk about our guest in the studio today. His name is Mr. Abayomi Fawehinmi. He has various publications to his name, and his research spans 3 broad areas: strategic HRM, corporate responsibility and corporate governance, sustainability management, and business development. Yami has served on a number of CIPM committees of council and is currently an elected council member. He writes and speaks on a variety of issues in Nigeria and around the world. Welcome to the office, sir. Good evening to you.
Good evening. Thanks for having me. Good evening, and thanks for inviting me, and thanks to the listeners.
It's a pleasure to have you here. Today, we'll be talking about employee engagement experience. Employee engagement and experience. What is employee engagement? What does that really mean?
Okay, so very great question. It's very important. So employee engagement is about the level of an employee's commitment and connection to the organization. Those 2 words are very critical: commitment and connection. Now, if you look at it, that employee comes to work with their bodies, so they have their brain and their hands and all of those things, right?
Yeah.
So employees come to work with their hands essentially, and their head usually.
Yeah.
It's possible for them to work with their hands, but not with their heads.
Hmm.
But an engaged employee is a person who works with his hands, his head, and his heart. So the emotional connection between that individual and the workplace is what determines his level of engagement. So
an employer works with his head, his hands, and his heart.
Yeah.
Define all 3 of these aspects and how they come into a beautiful work experience.
So working with your hands is you are an editor, you edit, you type, you write, you're an actor, you draw, you're a driver, you drive, right? That's working with your hands.
Right.
Working with your head is using your brain and your rational brain to get the work done. So as you are in the office now, you're speaking very good English. I like your diction. I like the way you pronounce words and all of that. Now, that's you using your head, right? Because you are using your intellect and you are using your intellectual power to enable your hands to work well, right? Now, the part of the heart is the emotional connection. So, for example, I'm your guest. My name is Yomi Fawehinmi. I could get from your intonation that you are not Yoruba. So you must have gone, and you called my name correctly. So you must have gone to ask somebody, how do I pronounce this man's name? Is that correct?
Right.
That is not your head. That is your heart. Because your head could say, just say, Fawehinmi or whatsoever. But your heart is, what should I do to connect with this name to make people feel that I'm doing the best thing, getting the job out? So that's the place of the heart. The place is about the emotional connection, the commitment to go the extra mile. That thing that you take your child to go and make hair in a salon, and you have a very good stylist who can make very good hair with the hair, and very brilliant, can make all designs, but will not say anything to that child when the child is crying. But you have this other stylist who will be asking the child, oh, don't cry, I'm going to make the best hairstyle. Do you know Ciara? Do you know Shakira? Okay, I want you to be as beautiful as Shakira. Now, that is the art being brought into the work. So an engaged employee comes with his hand, comes with his head, and comes with his heart.
Right. Great definition. Thank you so much. You've already talked about why it is important, but how does it really impact the overall experience of an employee?
Well, the biggest beneficiary of engagement is the employer, because an engaged employee does more. Actually, one of the indicators of if an employee is engaged is what is called discretionary effort. So when an employee is engaged, if you ask him to sweep the floor, he will sweep and mop the floor. The mopping is a discretionary effort. So when an employee is engaged, it does beyond his job description. It starts to work for the benefits of the organization. So the first beneficiary of engagement is the employer. Now, what also happens to the employee is that because of his emotional connection, he starts to become a better person. He starts to get better results, better promotions. People start to like him for what he's doing and all of that. So the employee himself, he starts to get the recognition because of the additional work he's doing. And so that this thing doesn't look abstract. I mean, I don't know how many people, many of our listeners would like football. Nigeria was at the World Cup and we were playing, I think, against Sweden. We had people like Gigi Okocha and Agao were there. And then we had somebody in defense called Taribo West. We were leading, the match was 1-0. Sweden equalized and we were at 1-1. And Taribo was one at the time, got injured. He had a cut on his, I think his upper eye or something like that. You know what Taribo West did? Anybody that remember? I think it was Korea World Cup.
Okay.
He went behind the goalpost, our goalpost, and they were attending to him. And he told the doctors to stitch that injury right there, not to take him out. Those ones were like, no, you got. He said, no, I got to get back into this match. Nigerians cannot afford to lose this match. Right on the pitch, we saw them stitching that guy without anesthesia. Immediately they finished stitching, he stood up and wanted to go in. The referee now said, you can't go in because the jersey was stained with blood. And then they asked him to change the jersey. While he was out, they scored the second goal against Nigeria. Nigeria qualified out of the World Cup just because Taribo was West. But the engagement part was the guy offered to be stitched without anesthesia right on the pitch. That's his engagement for you. You know, that is not about playing football any longer. That's about the passion, a commitment, a connection to ensure we get the best result in the game.
Oh, that's good. It's great to see how important it is and the impact that it leaves in our job experience in general. What are the dangers of having disengaged employees? You've talked about the merits and how it can help the entire experience, having members of your staff properly engaged. But what are the dangers of having disengaged employees? What then happens?
There are two principal dangers, and thanks for that question. The first danger is that they're not going to pull their weight. They're just going to do the minimum. Oh, my job is a presenter. I'm just going to present. I don't really care, right? I'm giving the example of presenter because I'm talking to you, right? So I hope you don't mind that.
It's fine.
I was once invited to a media station where I got in to be interviewed. It was actually a TV station. And my interviewer did not even say hello. He just said, so we're going to start in 30 seconds. And I said, do you even know who you are talking with? He said, yeah, I presume you are Mr. Fawehinmi. I said, that's what you should have just done by just saying, hello, Mr. Fawehinmi. What if it was Mr. Joseph that came in mistakenly? Now, how would you have a guest and you will not even greet? How do you want us to have a conversation and we can't even show common civility or courtesy? So that's the problem. The person is not going to live. Of course, I wasn't at my best at that interview because I just felt, hey, this guy just sees me as a tool, right? He wants his show to go on and he just sees one idiot that shows up, right? So that's the first thing, is that they don't pull their weight. The second part, and the more dangerous part, is that they start to infect other people.
They start to infect other people as well.
Yeah. So they spread the negativity, they spread the unkindness, they spread the they start to discourage people that are even engaged. So have you gone to work in a place? Maybe you are new. I don't know how long you have stayed in Lagos stuff. So you're new, and the first day you came in very early. The second day, maybe resumption is 8, you were there 5:30, second day. And by the third or fourth day, one of the older employees comes to you and says, you are new, Abi. That's why you are still doing this initial gra-gra. This place, they don't want things like this, so don't give them anything special. They don't like you. I mean, we have been here. I'm sure you have heard that kind of conversation. Maybe not in Lagos stuff, but in some other organizations, right? So you see that people come to use experience. That is why, for example, when a student in Nigeria, while in school as an undergraduate, he fights and prays and says that ASU should not go on strike. The guy graduates, goes to do NYC, resumes as a lecturer, he becomes the chairman of ASU, he goes on strike every year. right? So
Right.
that is what happens. What happens to that guy when he was another guy? He sees ASU strike as a disturbance to his career. But he becomes a lecturer, and the senior people say, this is how we get things done. You got to go on strike. If you don't go on strike, we don't get what you want. And then the guy gets acculturated. So the more dangerous problem with the disengaged employee is that it becomes a virus. And unfortunately, there is no mask that you can wear to prevent this virus.
Right.
If I've seen people that are even working and say, don't bother yourself with that.
I love your comments so far. I think everyone listening to 91.3 Lagos Talks right now can pretty much relate to everything that you're saying. It goes away from even big organizations, so the corporate world. It goes down to the business on the streets with those who sell recharge card. Everyone can really relate because we all work with people at the end of the day. But I would like to ask you one question before we go on a quick break. In one sentence, and from your experience, please, tell us what you think employees want from their employers in one sentence.
That's a long one. Okay, that's not the one sentence. Okay, I believe employee wants from their employers respect, recognition, and meaning.
Respect, recognition, and meaning. We'll come back to all three of them after the break. You're listening to The Office. It's Lagos Talks 91.3. Don't go anywhere.
Charles! Yes, Mommy? God, bring 2 sachets of hyperbit for me. What?
All right, we can talk. Nobody can hear us. I've enjoyed the show so far. I wish you were here in the studio with us.
Oh, I'm sorry, I couldn't make it.
Are you abroad?
How did you catch me?
It doesn't look like you're in Nigeria. I can tell from the paint.
Yes, I'm not currently in the country.
Oh, okay. Okay, that's fine.
So you could get this from the page? That's surprising.
Yeah, I could tell.
I think I could go and buy paint in Alabama.
You could.
Wow, that's surprising. I always to ensure that my background will not show where I am, but some people are just so gifted that they can pick one thing. I mean, somebody has said that fan, but they don't sell this kind of fan. You can see that there's a ceiling fan, right?
I can see, yeah.
That ceiling fan, they don't sell in Nigeria. And I'm like, you Nigerians, you are too sharp.
We are.
By Adam and Eve, the luxury home.
Colgate's protect my teeth from cavities. Does this use cat food?
What is wrong with the audio? Yeah, it's switching off my. It's recording now, so we have to. I'll talk to them during the Monday meeting. I'll mention it so they fix it. Sorry, my video kept going off and on. Technical issue.
They're so tiny, you can't see them, but they are there. And that is why I trust only Hyperloop to kill them all.
Make your white fabrics whiter and your household free of illness causing germs and viruses with the disinfecting power of
Yes.
excellence.
From the center of excellence, this is Lagos Talks 91.3. Join the conversation on the most relevant issues affecting the workplace, as well as the human resource patterns being positioned to solve them on The Office. Get notifications on available job listings and advice on how to apply from featured experts in the industry every Thursday from 4:30 p.m. to 5 p.m. Only on Lagos Talks 91.3.
Welcome back to The Office on Lagos Talks 91.3. 50 minutes now past the hour 4. The conversation continues with my guest in the studio, Mr. Abayomi Fawehinmi. And today we're talking about employee engagement and experience. Before the break, you mentioned 3 very important things that employees need from their employers: respect, recognition, and meaning. Meaning. Explain meaning, please.
Okay, so I mean, everybody understands respect, right?
Yeah. So I left that out.
Everybody understands recognition.
Yes.
But meaning is that part. Remember, we've said that employee engagement is about the emotional connection of the employee to the workplace. What will drive that emotional connection is if there is meaning in the work of the employee and there is meaning in his outputs. So here you are, you've been in this studio, you've been talking, you have been doing that. If you don't consider it or your employers don't make you feel what you are doing is meaningful, you will not be engaged. Right? So that is why, for example, so you have somebody, so your studio now you are the face of the studio, so people can see you, so people believe you are doing meaningful work. But you have an editor or a producer behind you, right? If the organization makes that guy feel it's not important, he's not going to be emotionally connected. That is why in Nigeria, every time government signs an agreement with doctors, nurses go on strike. Because that agreement, you said that a consultant doctor can retire at age 75, but you don't give the nurse the same privilege, shows that the nurse is not as meaningful as a doctor. Therefore, he will go on strike to be able to ensure that he gets meaning. And another point.
Yeah, to be recognized as well.
So the part of recognition is, I recognize what you are doing. The part of respect is, I respect you as a professional doing it. The part of meaning is that what you are doing is meaningful to the organization. So this morning now, somebody cleaned that office before you came in, right?
Right.
Ask yourself this question. Your organization may do more to make you feel your work is more meaningful than his own work. But you know the funniest thing?
What is?
That guy can ensure that you don't have a good performance today. Right?
Right.
Think about it from this point of view. You go to deliver a child. Many people find it easy to say that the doctor is very great in his job is meaningful. The job of the nurse is meaningful. Now, somebody goes to deliver a child and they need to give her a pint of blood. And they need to get the blood from the blood bank. The guy who is going to get the blood from the blood bank is a clerk, not a doctor, not a nurse, not a pharmacist, is a clerk. If you don't let the guy believe his job is meaningful, he will pick any blood sample, they will give it to the nurse, who will give it to the doctor, they will transfuse on that patient, the patient will die. Why? We have made that man who is not a doctor or who is not a nurse not feel his work is meaningful, and therefore he has treated his work with levity. One of the biggest challenge we have with employee engagement is that making people feel your job is meaningful. So whether I'm a driver in Lagos stocks, or I'm a cleaner, or I'm an accountant, I'm working in HR, it's a role of the employer to make everybody feel you are as meaningful as possible. I'm going to give you an illustration for you to understand this. A soldier goes to fight, whether it's Sambisa or goes to fight in a Gulf War. But you know the funniest thing, every soldier that is taken in the air doesn't pack his bag. Somebody packs his parachute for him.
Oh, okay.
The person who packs his parachute for him is not a soldier, he's a civilian. So when he packs it, they give it to him, it goes on air. If there's a need to escape from that aircraft, the speed at which you can release your aircraft is dependent on how it was packed. If that guy who is packing it is just told you are just a clerk, your job is just to be packing it, the guy will not know that once I make a mistake, this soldier needs to release the parachute, he can't release, he's a dead man. We got to make that clerk, that man packing the parachute, feel that his job is as important as a soldier who we are sending into the sky.
So do you think HR alone should shoulder this responsibility of engaging employees? You just mentioned the HR. What about the role of the CEO in this? Because the CEOs seem a little bit far away, and I don't know how much they engage the staff or engage employees. Surely it can't all be on the shoulder of the HR, can it?
No, actually, it should not even be on the shoulder of HR.
Okay.
The principal determinant of the quality of engagement of an employee is his direct supervisor, not HR.
Okay.
In many organizations, HR has become the lord of the manor. We ask them to do everything. In fact, in some organizations, the HR manager is like the guy at the top. He takes many decisions. Ideally, HR is supposed to look like a software that runs the system, but you don't see. It is the hardware of the computer you can see, but you can't see the software, right? You can't see the Microsoft Office running behind, right? That's what HR should do, using tools, principles, policies, guidance to ensure people do. But the person that determines whether an employee is engaged or not is his direct supervisor. If his direct supervisor makes him feel respected, he will be engaged, even though his salary is not much. If he makes him feel valued, and if he makes him feel he's doing a meaningful job, he will do a great job, even though the CEO does not know him. Of course, the CEO will not know everybody. So the first person is a direct supervisor.
Yeah.
The second person is a system, and that's where HR comes in. That's where all the tools comes in, the workplace, the quality of the work environment. And then you now have senior leadership, how they show respect. Hey, one very, very small thing that some CEOs could do, and I believe that some CEOs are listening to it, just pat that driver on the back. Well, if it is culturally appropriate for you to do that, just say thank you. Just ask. I was in the coaching session. I was coaching a senior executive, and I was telling him on the needs. He got a feedback that it was too stiff. Many people felt that it wasn't. So I was explaining to him why he needs to soften. He's a very senior executive and all of those things. And I said, just show that you care for people. He now said, I get what you are saying. I said, well, why do you say so? He said, so after you started coaching me, one of the guards that protect me greeted me and said, good morning, sir. You know, Sean, sir, as they will say. And I said, good morning. And I asked him, how is your family? That the guy said, sir, what did you say? He said, I told the guy, how is your family? The guy said, my family is fine. He said the guy took his bag and brought to his office, went out, knocked and came and said, okay, you asked me about my family. You have never done that before since I've been working for you. Today is my best day working here. That you remember that I have family and you can show concern that how are they? I am so happy. My family is fine. He said the guy went on a historical analysis of where his child is, what he's studying, what he's doing. That is how CEOs can start to show that connection. I'm going to give you another example so that people can get this. I know our time is fast, right?
Yeah.
So this was another session I was working with this leader, right? His name is Emmanuel. So one day they brought a new cleaner that cleans his office. So when the cleaner came, the cleaner came to his office and was about to clean. He now said, oh, so what's your name? Connection, right?
Yeah.
The guy said, my name is Nane. The man said, wow, we're namesakes. Oh, so Emmanuel helping Emmanuel. The guy said, okay, what did you say? He said, yeah, two Emmanuels are working together. You're helping to become a better Emmanuel. The guy said, I have never heard anybody at your level talk to me like this. That is the connection you are trying to do as a senior leader. Now, you can't do it for everybody.
Right.
Because you don't have time. But you see, that Emmanuel you made happy is going to tell all the Emmanuels and all the Ahmeds and all the Akomus and all the Ungozis what you did for him. And it's going to multiply that enthusiasm, excitement, happiness around the organization.
That's a fantastic approach. That's a very fantastic example that you just laid out. And I know the CEOs are listening, the employees are listening, and even the HRs are listening. Now, before we wrap up, I have a few more questions. In this era of remote work, we know how, the world is, or have been in the past 2 years. What activities can employers implement to ensure employees are engaged? Because with remote work, it can be tricky reaching these people and connecting with them in that way. So what tools or activities can that employers implement to ensure employees are engaged?
Maybe anything that will promote respect, recognition, and meaning.
It still revolves around those three values.
Yeah, just what can employee recognition? So part of this recognition, for example, that I recognize you're working from home and you're a mother, you have 3 children. And we're holding a meeting and one of the students busts in and say, Mommy, I want oranges. Now, when you are the CEO on the other side, but I've told you people to stop allowing your children to bike to meeting, you are not recognizing that woman's state, having a 3-year-old, right?
Yeah.
or maybe we are doing so. That's part of the things, right? So we remove work. We need a little bit more of emotional intelligence to drive those behaviors. From even the tone that the way you sounded yesterday is better than today. What could be happening, right? That is part of you showing respect. Or somebody says, "Sir, I need to leave the meeting right away." And you say, "No, this meeting is important, it's critical to us." I say, "Okay, I understand." And then the person doesn't come back to the meeting, and you just call the person and say, "Oh, I noticed you left the meeting. I hope everything is well at home." Right?
Yeah.
The last thing is, like I said, anything that can help those three things. The last thing is for you to just check more on your people. Every leader now should have on his calendar a roster of all your direct reports, how frequently you'll be checking with them.
All right.
There was an employee that they were doing Zoom meetings and doing Zoom calls, and this guy was joining the meeting but refused to put on the video. The guy was in the hospital. So the guy eventually was discharged and came back home, and he didn't join the second, third, fourth Zoom call, and nobody called on him or checked on him. One of his colleagues just said he just felt uneasy that this guy wouldn't do that. Goes to his house, realizes that the house is locked, gets police, break the door, the guy was dead.
Wow.
Yeah. In this time of COVID and all the working from home, I've experience of about 3 to 4 employees that died in that circumstance, wherein people were joining Zoom calls, but they were healed, and we did not notice from their voice or from their video something was wrong till when they died. This is the time for leaders to show more emotional intelligence. The guy always puts on his video, but he says he doesn't want to be putting on his video again. The guy is always talking, but he stops talking. Just ask the question. And not in the meeting, after the meeting. I noticed what's happening to you. Regular check-in can make a lot of difference. I'm just going to say this, just something to illustrate it. I met somebody, used to be my student many years ago in the university. I met him after many years, and I couldn't recognize him. The guy had a health condition called vertigo that causes pigmentation.
Yeah,
So this
that's what Michael Jackson had.
Yeah, this guy that I knew as dark has become a white guy. Now, how will you know that if you don't check his video? That's what we need to do with this remote work. We need to do more investing in emotional intelligence.
Right. To wrap up, with all of these things, when they're finally done, I'm sure employers would love to measure their success with this. Is it working? How can I really measure whether there's a change in the environment? What is the impact? So how can employee experience be measured?
Okay, so engagement, there are standard engagement tools. There are sample questions you can ask online. So you could do that. You don't need to reinvent the wheel. There are sample questions you can just download online and administer to your people very regularly and measure. So it's a trend analysis, right? So you measure in January, you see the results, you act on it, and then you can do a pulse check sometime later and see whether you're improving or not. So it's by using the tools, asking questions, and then getting feedback and improving on it.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Mr. Abayomi, Fawehinmi. We appreciate you for joining us today on The Office. And wow, time is not our friend. We would love to have you back, hopefully, because you're a special guest to us and my listeners are enjoying the conversation today. Hopefully we can have you back. We don't have enough time to take calls, but hopefully when we have you back, you would answer some of these questions and give us more insight into employee engagement and experience in general. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks, and I really enjoyed talking to you. You've been a very wonderful host. I always try to remind people that when you invite people to your station, you are the host and you did a great job. Thank you very much. You're really an engaged employee. I think somebody should give you an award.
Oh, wow. Thank you very much. Engaged indeed. Thanks for joining me today. We appreciate you. Coming up next is Critical Thinking. Don't go anywhere. Stay with us. I'm an engaged employee. Where is my award? Someone needs to give me my award.
Employee.
Yeah.